Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. So, for shits and giggles, I sat down and watched Game Changer Wrestling. Oh my god. This is not the first show I've watched. I've watched shows before. But I was, still kind of mesmerized by the concept of Nick Gage being uh, Deathmatch Jesus. I decided to watch this show, considering the show was, on the weekend. I didn't have nothing else to do. So, we started the show. For starters, the arena was in Las Vegas. It wasn't really an arena. It was more like an event center. Um, Maybe somewhere you see on a college campus, even though I'm pretty sure it was like in some type of very small venue for obvious reasons. They had just like deck chairs all over the place. But we started with the show with a 10-bell salute for New Jack, which was really nice. Then we find out how janky this promotion really is. Now, I know it's an indie promotion. They don't have a lot of money. But the sound quality was not really all that good. The commentary was very bad. The commentary sucks. I mean, especially in the latter half of the show, but we'll get there. Some of the wrestlers were okay. Not all of them. The structure of the show was not that good. Well, we'll talk about that when we get there too. But let's get right into it. So the first match was Jimmy Lloyd, a fat fuck who makes Kevin Owens look like Lex Luger, versus Jack Cartwheel, whose gimmick is he does cartwheels. I just literally, well, what the fuck? He was 19 years old. He's a college football player, so he's got a future. He's just basically a guy you would see on Dynamite. He just does a lot. He's an incredible athlete, this Jake Cartwheel fella. But that's really all it is just him doing choreographed stunts. He does a lot of flips and dives and a lot of stuff like that. He doesn't really know how to settle down and actually work. Jimmy Lloyd was able to do some stuff with him early, but that was about it. It was just basically an exercise in watching Jack Cartwheel do phenomenal shit. Like he did like this Phoenix Hurricane Rana, but he ended up, of course, still banging his head on the goddamn mat. But it was sweet to look at. And then Cartwheel won with a flying whippity do. They called it the Cedar Point something or other. Cedar Point Phoenix Splash or something like that. So there was a handshake and a hug afterwards, so they showed some respect. So Cartwheel is a hell of an athlete. Does he have a future? Maybe. If he actually learns how to do like headlocks and, actually, slow down and not do so many flippity doodads. But that's wrestling today. The second match was my favorite match on the entire show. And that says a lot. Because this match was actually pretty good. Bad Dude Tito versus Chris Dickinson. Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson. This was actually very good. Two guys who are seemingly in their prime, in shape, laying it in. They did some brawling on the floor. There was some good striking combinations and some good submission stuff. There was a jump kick and an enziguri combination by Chris Dickinson that was pretty fucking sweet. And Dickinson won. So you had after the match, Chris Dickinson got on the microphone and says that he hears all the time that people ask him, where's the talent? Where's, the young guys who are in shape, in this business? And he says that, the West Coast has some pretty good fucking guys. Then he gave Tito credit for being one of those guys. And then says, we got in here, we did our thing, you're for real. And they shook hands. And the fans chanted, please come back at Bad Dude Tito. And then Bad Dude Tito did a Death Valley driver on Chris Dickinson. I was like, okay. Now, Bad Dude Tito, I had seen both of these guys in Bloodsport before. So I'm familiar with them. And I don't want to be wrong, but I do believe Bad Dude Tito wrestles in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Is he in that silly tag team, the Wolf Zaddies or whatever the fuck? Because he had he had a similar gimmick and a similar look to him. But all I know is I saw that shit and I was like, I'm out. But Bad Dude Tito is pretty cool, So maybe if him as a solo act is fine. But that tag team stuff, I was looking at that like, nah, pass. And of course, Chris Dickinson is always pretty good. So the next match, third match, Jordan Oliver versus Ricky Marvin. This match was pretty fundamental. Ricky Marvin is an older, grizzled heel, and Jordan Oliver is a young, want to jump all over the place guy. This was kind of one of the more subdued matches on the card because Ricky Marvin led the match, which of course prevents Jordan Oliver from doing a lot of the flippity do stuff that he wants to do. Marvin started the match. He did a very series of backbreakers on to kind of show how tough Jordan Oliver is. He got spurts of offense, Jordan Oliver, but not a lot. There was an interesting kick out at one point where Ricky Marvin was getting counted down, and on the third count, he grabbed the referee's hand, like right as it was about to hit the mat, and that got like a real gigantic reaction, like whoa! And even I was like, oh, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Somebody grabbed the referee's hand as it was coming down for the third. Maybe I have seen it, and I just don't remember it, but I don't remember seeing it. Then the finish came from a diving cutter from the top rope. It's absolutely stupid. It's where you jump backwards from the second rope or the top rope or whatever, and then catch somebody's head and pull it down. I don't see how jumping off the top rope and land on your own spine is a finish, but whatever. It's modern wrestling. So the fourth match, Starboy Charlie versus Lio Rush. Starboy Charlie looks like he's 13 years old. He's small. He has no physique. He looks like Trunks from Dragon Ball Z. He's got the preppy haircut. He's even smaller than Lio Rush. Lio made them wait for him to come out. And this match was just two guys going as fast as they could, then showing that Starboy Charlie was just as fast and just as agile as Lio Rush. And they did some stuff, but this match, you would think that, two guys doing the flippity doodads and all that kind of stuff would get a big reaction. Not really. This match was very subdued as well. I found myself kind of drifting off because a lot of the action was meaningless. Like it was a lot of running around, a lot of jumping and some counters and stuff like that, but nothing felt like it never felt like the match actually started. It just kind of felt like, because they started with, Starboy Charlie just chasing Lio Rush around the ring. He would hit the ropes and he hit the same rope, and then he'd hit the ropes and he'd hit the same ropes. He'd be like, oh, come on. It was alright, I guess. But it was just so much running. The match was too fucking long. It was no real action. I didn't get into the story. I didn't get into anything. I didn't get anything out of this match. It was just guys running around, and then occasionally they do something, and occasionally, Starboy Charlie start working the leg or something, but they didn't start a match here. They basically just did a routine. It was stupid. The finish came from a ricochet stunner where, Lio Rush does like a little bounce off the third rope, and basically almost the exact same finish as the goddamn Jordan Oliver move, where you are not looking and you bounce off the ropes or whatever and drive your own spine into the mat, whatever. The fifth match, I have absolutely no way to call it because I only knew one person in the entire match. The Unguided and Eli Everfly versus the Second Gear Crew. I could not tell you who any of these people other than Mance Warner are. I don't know who any of them are. I've never seen any of them before. So it was just guys hitting each other with chairs and shit. There was a lot of stuff with doors. There was at one point where these guys left the arena and went outside, and we were staring at the empty ring for 4 or 5 minutes. Probably not even that long. Maybe about 3 or 4 minutes. Maybe a little bit longer. Maybe 4.5 minutes. And because we lost the camera couldn't follow them outside. The entire fucking crowd left their chairs to follow those guys outside. And so the crowd is out there. We're watching the crowd watch them as they do some whippity-doo shit off the top of some scaffold or some building or whatever the fuck are they doing out there. We can't see it. But we see a guy, jump off of something. And then they fight on their way back into the ring. They do some more shit with doors and chairs and yada, 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 before the Second Gear Crew wins. And it was just guys falling all over the place. I have no idea what the fuck was going on, really. They showed a new match. Now, I think it was an old match, a Tony Deppen match during intermission. Not going to review that. There's no point. I didn't watch it anyway. I had other things to do. I literally found me something else to do. So then the sixth match was some guy named Juicy. I didn't get his last name. And Schlack. Schlack, of course, looks like an inmate, from prison. And Juicy, whatever his name is a huge, fat, black dude, or Polynesian maybe, with a ponytail at the top of his head. Is absolutely not fit for the wrestling business. It was a brawl where these two guys, they broke a door or a plank of wood or a table or something. Then Schlack, of course, stuck him in the head with it. So he stabbed him in the head with a plank of wood. The fat dude tried to do a neck breaker and they both botched it. It was absolutely hilarious. It was awful. It was awful. It was one of those neck breakers where you just kind of like grab. It wasn't like you have like a, what move, like a rude awakening. No, it wasn't that. He was trying to do like a bypass neck breaker where the flat dude just jumped and Schlack was supposed to feed his head or whatever, and then he bring his head down. But Schlack jumped early or he jumped late or whatever, and it was horrible. The spicy or juicy dude or whatever the fuck got speared through a door. They hit each other in the head with pieces of the door. Then they started using pieces of the chair. And then once the juicy guy went down, Schlack pinned him. This match was trash. It was trash from this point forward. I just kind of was like, this is not good. Then things get even worse. We get Effie, the big gay brunch guy, versus the Dark Sheik. Now, this match was completely, I was completely taken out of this match by the fact that the Dark Sheik was being called they and she and he all through this goddamn match. They kept referring to Dark Sheik as a different pronoun throughout the entire match. And then I really stopped paying attention. Now, it's bad enough because you got Effie with the perv mustache and the fishnets. Like, that's already too much for me. But it's wrestling. There's Adrian Street, there's Goldust. It's not that big of a deal. But then you get the Dark Sheik, who you can't tell if it's a man or a woman. And then on commentary, they're saying absolutely ridiculous shit. Like macho person, even better than the macho man. And I just looked at that shit. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Is there somebody with a gun to your head for you making you say stupid shit like this? Like, not even the fact that you're talking about macho person being better than the macho man. That's not even it. Who the fuck is a macho person? Where the fuck does that come from? That makes no sense. That makes literally no sense. The commentary on this was a fucking joke. And I could see in the ring they was actually trying to tell a story and trying to do something. But the commentary was fucking awful. The attempts at trying to be progressive. Bouncing back and forth between she and they and he and all this type of stuff to make sure the pronouns are right. And apologizing for, when you got the pronouns wrong. And I'm trying to figure out. So I guess when the motherfucker said he, that was the right thing. Because then everybody was like, oh, well, I mean, she. Huh? The motherfucker said they earlier. And nobody corrected him. Then somebody says he, we got to correct him. Then we got to say, oh, no, the macho person is better than the macho man. Like, what kind of torturous, cringe shit is this? They must have your child tied up in the basement for you to talk like this. All right? Come the fuck on. Fuck out of here. The crowd, after the match, Effie wins. And it's actually a pretty pro wrestling finish. Dark Sheik had been working the leg. And then Effie just countered it with, like it was a regular Ric Flair counter. A small package and pin, got the hell out of there. The crowd chanted rematch and then chanted for the Dark Sheik. Apparently this was Dark Sheik's first appearance in Game Changer Wrestling. Whatever. After the fans chanted for Dark Sheik, somebody very loudly yelled, "That's not a girl." And then somebody else says, "That's not a girl." Like they was trying to start the chant that that's not a girl. And then somebody's like, "Fuck you." Fuck you, man. We're rebels over here, but we follow all the rules. Look, man, I don't have nothing against these people, man. Just be consistent. Your inconsistency is ridiculous. The idea that we have to bend language and we have to, twist and turn ourselves upside down for this stuff is ridiculous, man. It's nonsense. And plus, the Exoticos go on first. That's the first thing you should learn from. If you're going to do Mexico Exoticos and shit like that, you put them on early. You don't put Exoticos on 7th. You put them on first, you put them on second, or whatever. Like, when Conan, and all of those guys who, like AAA, they do Exoticos and shit all the time. They don't have them deep into the card. They have them early in the card, because they're supposed to be like fun-loving, not everybody's a baby face, but pretty much everybody's a baby face, and that's kind of how they're kind of the let me up talents. Like the first match is your hot match where everybody's going to do what they're going to do. And then your second match is kind of the let me up. And that's where Conan would put the Exoticos or whatever. These guys put the Exoticos on 7th. What kind of weird shit is that? And then the hits just keep on coming, because after that debacle, we get Ali Catch versus Joey Janella in the 8th match on the show. Now, let's give him some credit. Joey Janela actually did not look like he was in bad shape here. He looked like he had lost about 20, 25 pounds. He was actually tanned. So he looked professional. He wasn't ripped and cut, but he was better than he usually looks. I was impressed. And I want to take a moment to give him credit for actually being in shape. Ali Catch, though, not so much. And because it's intergender, I wasn't interested. They tried to work a serious match, but intergender matches it doesn't roast my almonds. I don't give a shit. The commentary, similar to the previous match, kept trying to shove this idea that Ali Catch is just a wrestler, not a female wrestler. She's just a wrestler, no different than any other wrestler. I'm like, if you were talking about any other wrestler, you wouldn't need to say that. This ham-fisted bullshit. If you want to say she's just a wrestler, then call it like a wrestling match. Just call it straight up. Don't even mention her gender. Just call it like a wrestling match. They had no problems doing it before. Like when they was talking about Effie and Dark Sheik, nobody mentioned that, Dark Sheik was trans or whatever the fuck that person was supposed to be. I have no idea. I didn't hear the commentary go on and on about it. But here in this match, the commentary kept going on and on about how Ali Catch was just wanted to be seen as a good wrestler and wanted to be seen as a great wrestler. She didn't want to be seen as a female wrestler. And then they got way off into the weeds of how Mrs. Pac-Man is the same as Pac-Man, just with a bow. I'm like, what the fuck? Just call the fucking match and shut the fuck up. Who the hell are these guys calling these matches? They're fucking awful. The PC police standing behind you with a fucking gun to your head is ruining the show. Because I'm at least going to be open-minded and watch it and give people a chance. But fuck my fucking God, this commentary, it's awful. It's this attempt to make sure you don't offend anybody. How can you even think? Let alone say what you have to say. Let alone put over what they're doing. If you have to traipse through this minefield of I don't want to offend anybody, man, shut the fuck up. You're supposed to be rebellious. You're hitting each other in the head with light tubes. If somebody can, get hit in the head or get kicked in the face, it's okay for people to see that they're a woman. It's all right. Fuck. What kind of shit is this? Anyway, the crowd then didn't help because everybody wants you to say that, oh, Ali is just a wrestler. And then Joey Janela kicked her in the head. Hard. With a shuffle sidekick. Kicked her right in the head. And the entire crowd was like, oh my goodness. And after people got stabbed with planks of wood, guys and jumped off all kinds of shit. This dude kicking somebody in the head, a girl, kicked her in the head. And they were like, is she okay? Is she, and it was pretty much, we're worried about her because she's a girl. But they didn't want to say that. That's really what it was. Because that would have blown the lid off of everything that they're trying to do. Just call the fucking match, bro. Just say, oh, that was a stiff kick. Whatever. It just became about, Then they continued to do things. Joey Janela did a power driver from the ring apron through a door. They love doors in GCW for some reason. And then Janela won with a double foot stomp after he laid a plank of wood on her face. So he jumped on the plank of wood, broke it over her face, and pinned her. In the post match, all of her friends came down to help her and carry her off, and Janela got booed, even though he didn't do it on purpose. They did a good job of making it seem like a pretty good angle. And the story was pretty much she was in there and trying to do her best, trying to hang, and she would not die. She would not stay down. That was the story of the match. But of course, it was clearly she would not stay down because you would expect the girl to give up. But she kept fighting, and then she just could not fight no more. It's like, well, if she's just a pro wrestler, why do we have to do that? Why do we have to go through that? That makes no sense. Whatever. But the hits just keep on coming because the main event, Nick Gage versus AJ Gray for the GCW World Title. Now, this match, we got AJ Gray coming to the ring. I believe this is the For the Culture guy, isn't it? Somebody, maybe, I don't know. Somebody let me know in the comment section. But during his entrance, the commentators talking about him being black. Oh, well, we got a black guy in a Limp Bizkit hoodie. Like, Limp Bizkit ain't been relevant in 20 fucking years. Who cares? If you want to be like everybody's just a wrestler, everybody's equal, why are you even bringing up the fact that he's black? So what? I can see that he's black. So what? That's like if he was blue. That would be something worth mentioning. Like, why the fuck is this guy blue? That's something irregular. Are we supposed to act like we've never seen black people before? Like, he's black and he likes Limp Bizkit. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of black people who like Limp Bizkit. And probably did back in the day. I don't know about now. Maybe that's what we're supposed to talk about. Maybe we're supposed to talk about this guy being so horribly out of date that, he still likes Limp Bizkit. That's fucking weird. Anyway, Nick Gage comes out. And Nick Gage has a Sandman-like interest. It's almost like a Von Erich, where he comes out and the crowd just mobs him. They just like surround him. They're grabbing him and shaking him, trying to hype him up, and he's hyping them up. They're slapping each other's chests and they're pushing each other. And, it was real energetic. And it does remind me a lot of a regional superstar. Of all the region stuff that I've watched, the Junkyard Dog and the Fantastics and Rock and Roll Express and all that kind of stuff. It does remind me a lot of that. This match was horseshit, though. Because despite the energy of Nick Gage and the realness that you get from him and the energy that he gets from the audience that he gives back to the audience, that intensity, that was good. I really, really, really enjoyed that. That felt main event. That felt important. And then they started hitting each other with fluorescent light tubes. And then they started hitting each other with chairs. They actually started the match sitting in chairs, throwing forearms. I was like, man, look, they didn't use anything different than people have already used on this show. Everybody in about 6 of these 9 matches used doors. These guys used doors. The only thing different they had was the light tubes. Just about everybody used a chair at some point. Even if it was just to jump off a chair. Even if it was just to hit somebody with a chair once. And they were stabbing each other in the head with light tubes, broken light tubes, stabbing each other in the head with planks of wood, stuff that had just seen just a few minutes earlier. It's not, it loses its luster. That's the thing that, I think that we should have learned from ECW, that we should have learned from CZW and all these other bootleg promotions that have been trying to do the same thing. The blood and guts is fine, but you have to pick 1 or 2 matches that do the blood and guts. Everybody can't do it, right? Everybody shouldn't be doing it. When you have more than 2 people on the show or 2 matches on the show doing similar gimmicks, it gets burned out. So now I'm watching the match just because, I kind of want to get a feel for the Nick Gage phenomenon. And what I get is basically a retread of some shit that they were doing earlier. There was no barbed wire, they used the shards of the light tubes or whatever, but that was about it. Nick Gage wins what they call the choke breaker, which is a choke slam onto his own knee. Okay, whatever. And then, of course, the big story is that Jon Moxley came out after the show to fight Nick Gage So Moxley and Nick Gage are the new era Terry Funk and Mick Foley. I don't know which one of them is Terry Funk. I think Nick Gage is probably gonna be Terry Funk because he's the older one, right? And so I'm guessing John Moxley is gonna end up being like his Mick Foley. He's gonna be the guy proselytizing to the youth about how great Nick Gage really is. Except for the difference is people actually knew how great Terry Funk was, and they saw it because they saw it on national TV. You know, um, I don't know how to. I don't have much of a reaction to it other than this. Moxley showing up in places is not. It's becoming less and less impactful the more they do it. The more Moxley just pops up at a place. And this was in Las Vegas, so I think he actually lives in Las Vegas. So this should have been more or less expected. But the more he does it, the more like you do lose some of your superstar appeal when people see you more often. You know, and it's like, oh, you're gonna wrestle for New Japan and you're gonna wrestle for Game Changer. It's like, okay, you're gonna be on TV every week too. It's like, okay, eventually we're gonna lose that luster. That's gonna, it's been 2 years of it already. Eventually he's gonna have these matches. He's gonna have the big match with Nick Gage, which I hope they do, because it sounds like it might be fun. They might go out there and do some crazy stuff. And there's nothing wrong with watching that kind of shit every once in a while. I will never watch too much of that shit, though. It's not my style. But it's an interesting concept for them to do. It might make them some fucking money. And then maybe these guys can actually get paid decently for hitting each other in the head with fluorescent light tubes and doing a bunch of dumb shit. They can work in bigger arenas and probably have a bigger audience. Have a bigger reach for their promotion. Are they going to put the title on John Moxley? I don't see why not. Either you're going to put it on Moxley or you're going to put it on Omega. I'm pretty sure a Game Changer, because they're already doing stuff with Joey Janella. They probably have the end on AEW already. They're going to be one of the next promotions to probably cough up their title. But since their title is an indie title anyway, it doesn't mean that much of anything. I don't see why it wouldn't. It wouldn't hurt you. John Moxley is a guy who can work the style that the people want to see, and he's a guy that those people like. Somebody that they believe can beat Nick Gage, or somebody that would be okay with beating Nick Gage, and can draw them to come and wrestle other people. So I say do it. Go ahead and put the belt on them. I wouldn't go with Omega. I would go with Moxley. Go with somebody that they can relate to. It's a different audience. I'm not so sure if Omega would be the guy for that audience, unless he's going to work that style, which if I was Tony Khan, I would not do it. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have access to good wrestlers in GCW, because you do. If Leo Rush is going to be there, cool. If Bad Dude Tito or Chris Dickinson is going to be there, cool. But if it's going to be a bunch of schlacks and effies and all those motherfuckers, I wouldn't want Kenny Omega on that show. Nope. But then again, I'm not Tony Khan. Tony Khan's a prog. He probably would be 100% cool with Omega doing the light tube shit in in GCW. But I wouldn't be all right with that. But that's his money. Who cares? But John Moxley though is good. Was it a surprise for me? It was kind of. I wasn't as excited as, when he popped up in AEW. Like, the surprises, they die down after a while. I don't get as excited for stuff that's, very likely. You get excited for things that are, like, oh, I didn't know we could even do that. We doing that now? But it's like, since we know Moxley will show up at any random indie at any point in time anyway, then sure, of course he'll be there. Why wouldn't he? But this was an interesting experience for me to watch GCW, because this is the first time I ever watched a whole show. Usually I don't even make it that far. I'd be then drifted off and did something else, or almost died, or almost killed somebody from watching this shit. But I finished the show. So throw me some ducats and a subscribe star or Cash App. And thank you for your time. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. I'm probably not going to, if I'm going to continue to follow Game Changer Wrestling? Probably not. We'll see if they do the Moxley Gage match. I'll probably do that. And if they do something else that I find interesting, I may watch it. But this was a very special occasion as far as I was not busy. So I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.